So what we are going to do is that you're going to introduce what you're going to take Rekha through, and what is the purpose for this, activity. In the sense, why are we talking about salt men from Iran? What is it that, what skill, what do you think as a historian, if you're going to think like a historian, what is the skill that is going to come for you through this? Okay. So, Rika, that should be your big idea to understand that if when Arpika is explaining all this to me, what am I gaining out of it? Why are we using this source or resource to talk about a certain period in history? Okay. All right, Arpika, you may
Okay,
start.
ma'am. So, these are the questions. Huh. So, these are the questions we are studying this to understand how the mummies were, how they died, and learn about them. We will ask questions. They we will find out what were archaeologists, radiologists, etc. What How did the mummies die? How they lived in their past life? What artifacts were found? How was the mummy found? And etc. So, um, we learned that the salt men are preserved for more than 1700 years old. We found out how the mummies died in the video and saw the artifacts, how they were in their past lives. What are archaeologists, radiologists? We learned that
Who is an archaeologist then?
archaeologists, the archaeologists are scientists who study past human activity. They find, they dig, excavate historic events, and they preserve our
So,
remains of
what an archaeologist digs up or gets out, or the way he gets out his data, what kind of source is he picking up?
artifacts. Their
Yeah. So,
primary
what type of source are they?
is primary source.
Correct.
So radiologists, they are medical doctors that specialize in diagnosing. They see how the mummy died. They tell us.
And also the age of the mummy at the time of the dead, when they die, at the time of the death. What is the age? So how do we get to know? It is through radiology that these kind of things can be concluded or inferred.
A pathologist, they study body fluids and they test monitor to tell us if they died of old age or how their health was of the patient. They use botanists. They study plants.
Botanists.
Botanists study plants. They look at the plant structure and they tell us about the environment, how the growth and impact of the environment. Anthropologists, they're scientists who study the development and behaviors of the human beings, how they examine biological, archaeological, and so on, depending on their area of expertise. So here is just written what is a mummy. It's a dead human or an animal whose soft tissues and organs have been preserved. There's a difference between mummy and skeletons. The skeleton is just a structure of bones of a human or animal body is
Advika, your voice is
while
breaking for me.
mummy
Advika, you can switch off your
their
video. Your
one
voice is cracking a
has
little.
been curved and has some tissues and organs.
Advika, just switch off your video,
So
beta, so we can hear you clearly.
it Miss, am I audible now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a difference between a natural mummy and a man-made mummy. So a man-made mummy mummified remains of the individuals from many places. They're found in northern Chile.
So one of
While
the things, just a minute, Adhika. One of the things that I really liked was when Adhika said that there's a difference between a skeleton and a mummy. Uh, so Rika, from your understanding, would you be able to differentiate or even tell us how they are different and why do we say they are different?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
okay,
Um, the skeleton is a structural part which is inside of our body after our whole body decays, and that's the only remaining thing left
Okay.
we can
And
see.
mummy?
And mummies are can be naturally preserved or man-made. So some of their organs and their insides are preserved so that in the future we can discover. I mean, we didn't know, but some of their organs are preserved.
But what is the reason to preserve? So when they are they preserving thinking, oh, the future generations will benefit from it, they'll understand, use it as a, science experiment or something. Why are they
Uh,
preserving it?
if it was man-made, then it might be that in the future that the people will use it for experiments and other stuff. But
No,
it
do,
might be
do they know what the future, do you and I know what our future generation is going to be? Do we
no.
think, like, okay, let's save the human body in a way that it's going to be used for scientific purposes? There has to be something more than that. Think about it. Think. What is the reason for people to, when we are looking at ourselves as historians, we have to look at ourselves as detectives who will look at the evidence, who will look at very many things to reach a conclusion. We will not just think just like what we've studied in class. Think, Advika, you have studied, can you figure out why do we say that? How are they different? Firstly, this one, Rika has very rightly pointed out how are skeletons and mummies different. But why does one go into the preservation of human body?
yes, I think they preserve dead human bodies to figure out how they died or to get to know about them.
So, in our time now, if we were to preserve or mummify people, why are we doing that? I'm not going to be alive in the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 years to see that I mummified a body.
Is they preserve a dead body, figure out how they lived in the olden times,
No, no,
how they
no. So, wait, let's say in 2021, we mummify bodies and we leave them. We have this in mind that people 100 years later should be able to know how people lived now. Is that the only reason?
no miss.
Will I think like that, okay, so I am going to mummify a body so that people 100 years later dig up and see how the world was in my time. There has to be a deeper meaning to it. Please figure out what that is. Both of you, look at it. Look at the reason why mummies were created in the first place. So the natural mummy we know will not be created, but why did the Egyptians spend so much time, so much money, so much of effort embalming things, people making those mummies? Why? What was the reason for it? Would they be so interested that, okay, 1,000 years later, Advika, Rika, Prajata will be sitting in a class and discussing us? And I'm trying to understand how the Egyptian civilization lived so many years back. Would that be their sole, reasoning?
Yes.
Have you found out? Rika, have you found out? Think. Okay, go Google. Let's see. That's the first question that should come to my mind. You can stop sharing, Advika. First question that should come to my mind as a historian, I'm trying to collect evidence of why I know what I know, how I know what I know. That is how it is different from the way you've been studying so far and how you will be studying now. You will question everything.
Ma'am, I
How
know
did we
one
reach this?
thing.
Yeah.
Ma'am, in the Egyptian process, they used to make mummies well preserved because they thought they need to be well preserved to go to the afterlife.
Okay, afterlife, that is what one of the things was. That is why they sent with them money. Even in the Indian Indus Valley civilization, you see that the pots of gold, pots of grain have been put down in the burials, right? So
Yes.
those are the things that you need to be careful about. We cannot just generalize answers. Please look for it deeper and get back to me. And you can watch these two videos. These are interesting videos on how we will be a historian or how we can be a geographer. And in INS, how we can be both. So what you've been doing and how you've been studying so far will be different when you apply yourselves to thinking in a different way, to asking questions more than just giving answers.
Miss,
Yes, Advika.
Miss, they preserved mummies because the ancient Egyptians thought that if they crushed the body, the soul or the spirit of that person would be lost.
Okay, so that's a second thing that you bought. So it is primarily based on spiritual reasons, religious reasons, their belief in afterlife, all that you come to know from what you see. What is it that how are you reaching your conclusions? How are you reaching, that these people had not always died a natural death? That there was so much effort, time, and money spent in trying to preserve even the remains of the people who die because they believed in afterlife, because they believed in the preservation of soul. So that ritual comes across through us through these mummies, through the preservation process. Have you understood what I'm saying? So it's not enough
Yes,
for
miss.
us to just know that, oh, they used to save. We have to know why. We have to know how. And we have to know that, what is the impact of that? What do we come to know about it? Okay. So
Okay,
this
miss.
question will remain as an open book question for us, wherein we keep digging further, trying to get the answer to this. that what did, when we are looking at sources, we've taken up three very different sources. We've taken up mummies, we've taken up saltmen, we've taken up Pompeii, where also everybody was just mummified where they were after the ashes, and there is no understanding other than people just molted there or just stood there. Yeah. And how people have now started to dig up things out of there. I'll just share one video with you so that you develop your thinking as a INS student. Please watch these two videos. I'm putting up another one. We will go through all of these.
Most of the man-made mummies were well preserved because of their religious beliefs.
Which is what you just said. Which is
Yeah.
what you just said. Yeah. Go through these two links, please. You will understand how the study has to be done for both history and geography. We have to be very careful of the kind of words that we use for the subject. We have to be very careful of the kind of investigation we do for the subject. Both of you, can you please be back?
Hello? Hello?
Advika? Did you see the videos, Rika?
Yes, miss. I watched the historian one. Then I'm almost finished with the geography one.
Okay, that's all. We don't have to see the complete thing also for the geography. It's okay. Advika?
Yes, miss.
All right. Can I have you both on now? I'm going to take
Miss, you're muted.
Unmuted.
I'm going to take you through these two links. We're going to watch them together. So please be careful. Just be alert. I'll just share screen again with the sound. Okay. This one is a longer video, so I'll leave the link with you also. But this one is something that's a short video. Can you see the other video also?
Could you give us the link?
I've put the link on the chat, both of them, please see. Can you see this? It's loading.
I wanted to move abroad and had to prepare for the IELTS. Reading and listening.
Is it audible?
Yes, miss.
Pompeii was in that moment, 79 AD, was really, I can say the place to be, but was really an important town, little but important town.
Inside the casts, there are the skeletons of these people. So these are just the human being of that population living 2,000 years ago. So the body stayed just complete for 30, 40 years, and slowly the soft tissues disappeared, but the ash bed made a kind of negative cast around the bodies. So in the 80s, when Fiorelli had a very clever idea to put just plaster in the hollow cavities, he could have then plaster casts.
The analysis with the plaster casts give us a lot of data about, for example, how they used to eat. In the teeth of the victims, you can see, for example, you can read the biography of the victims, so how they eat, and so how if they belong to the elite of the side, or if they were just a slave. We have a laboratory where we show all the fruit, bread, all the material carbonized, organic material carbonized by eruption, and so we can see really how they used to live in their daily life in the day of the 79 AD.
The sites buried by the 1700 eruption of Vesuvius are very important to us because they are a unique example of the sudden catastrophe which buried suddenly entire cities, towns, people, objects, everything. So actually the people from Pompeii, the people from Herculaneum are just kind of living section of the population, because mostly anthropologists, archaeologists, they studied died people from cemeteries, but in this case, these people were just alive, so they were living a living population. This is very important to understand how they were living, the health of these people, illness, and everything, also about life, but also death. At the moment, we are trying to understand in details how the people died in Pompeii and in Herculaneum. We know, because we have studied in details, that people died due to the very high temperature, but we don't know exactly the mechanism, which is very important because Vesuvius is a very dangerous volcano, active volcano, explosive volcano. So all this kind of data about how the people died 2,000 years ago, but even 4,000 years ago, because a very large eruption of Vesuvius, it's very important for civil protection, for future prevention of future eruptions at Vesuvius.
Kita tidak takut dengan mayat atau jenazah yang
Excuse me,
Did
miss?
that tell you something?
Ma'am, there's still background noise of the video coming from someone's mic.
Okay, did that tell you something?
Yeah. Yes, miss.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, miss, but not that much.
So the next video that we will watch, I mean, if it's not that much, it's actually much better than what you all answered me earlier. Yeah, so now I'm sure you'll be able to answer a question: why do we need to study mummies, and how do people make mummies, and why do people make mummies? Yes?
Were just slave.
Rika, you need to stop that.
I'm not doing it. It's from someone else's mic.
There is nothing else playing anywhere. It's just my laptop and yours. That's all.
The best known is Pompeii. The eruption in 79 AD, this volcano exploded. Down below, around the Bay of Naples, there were farms, houses, luxurious villas, Roman towns. The best known is Pompeii. The eruption which wiped this ancient town off the Roman map is one of the world's most famous disasters. But the tragedy has given historians a priceless legacy. The inhabitants were overwhelmed by gas, lethal gas, volcanic debris, and we found their bodies exactly where they died. Many have been cast in plaster, frozen in time. They've tantalized the world with their last horrific moments of death, but they tell us little about their lives. Now, in a cellar just 2 miles outside Pompeii, are 54 well-preserved skeletons lying exactly where they died. They were hiding from the full force of the volcano. 2,000 years later, they're about to give up their secrets. I'm wondering whether they can tell us something about the most interesting question in Pompeii, which is not how the people died. We know how they died. It's about how the people in Pompeii actually lived. For the 25 years I've taught.
So the interesting thing here becoming that from the remains, how is she going to infer or conclude that how people lived? What was the daily lives of the people? Which is why I urge you to watch this video. And she is somebody called Mary Beard, and she has been working relentlessly in the field of trying to understand sources and mummification, and also building up the past from all of these things. Okay, so I'm leaving this link on the chat. Please copy both these links. I'll also put them up on the Teams if you want. And when we come back in the next class, we'll continue from here itself. In the meantime, Rika, please have watched the Saltmen so that you can finish the worksheet based on that. Have you all heard me, children?
Yes, ma'am.
So how do I know you've heard me if you all are sitting quiet and in the dark?
Yes.
So what have I asked you to do, Rika?
Work on the worksheet of Saltman.
No, you've heard only half the thing. Advika, what have I asked you to do?
She asked me to watch this video about.
So the video and then to look at the worksheet and read up a little bit more about Saltman, Rika.
Yes,
Yeah.
miss.
So that when we meet next time, if we haven't been able to watch the video, never mind, we'll watch it again. That's not a problem. But you have to complete the worksheet based on your understanding, not just a copy paste, which is what you did last time. It was quite a copy paste. It didn't show your understanding. And when we are giving any answer, we must go into the depth of it, the why. Why am I saying this? Okay. It's not
Miss,
enough
I
for
didn't
me to.
copy paste the last time.
No. The answers were absolutely very basic. And I told you about it just then. That's it. Very, very basic. They were just read from somewhere and surmised. There was nothing, they didn't go into the depth of it, which is fine. We are learning. So please be open to learning, because the learning will happen only if we are open to it. If I am close to the idea that, no, I already know and I did not do, I am not wrong, you will not learn. So it's okay. Even me at my 50 years, I am also learning. So let's be very, very open to learning. It's okay to accept that it wasn't correct. All right. Advika, what you explained today was not very good, but okay, fair enough. If I were to assess you on this explanation on a level of 8, I would give you a 5, not more than that. But the kind of effort that you put in for your worksheets and your answers, it should be a 7. You should be able to talk about things in greater detail and depth, because your answers show that depth. But if you're not going to be able to speak about those things, then it doesn't show the teacher or the other people that you work at all. When you're saying something, you must always speak for example. You must always give examples so that that depth comes out in your knowledge and understanding. Okay?
We must work on that.
Yeah. So we'll meet again soon and we will continue with the video and the resources.
Okay, miss.